Hey, welcome to the Test Guild News Show for the week of July 4th. This show is dedicated to helping you kick off your week right with all the latest automation testing, performance testing, site reliability testing, security testing, DevOps testing, related news and updates that you need to know for this week. So grab your favorite cup of coffee or tea and let's get started. All right, first on my list, if you haven't already, I'm pretty sure you'll be hearing about this. It's going to be a lot of buzz around it. It's the GitHub CoPilot. So GitHub just launched a technical preview of GitHub CoPilot, which is a really cool new AI peer programmer tool that helps you write better code. So why is this cool? Well, GitHub CoPilot draws context from the code you're working on, suggesting either whole lines or entire functions. So it helps you quickly discover alternative ways to solving problems, exploring new APIs while having going through all the tedious process of searching on Google to find answers on the internet, and more importantly, it helps you write tests. So as you type, it adapts to the way you write code and it helps you complete your work faster. Really cool stuff. I really see this being essential for anyone that's going to be doing development in the future. I think it's only going to get better over time. And I think if you're a tester, you should definitely leverage this to help you write better automation code as well. There's already a few people that have explored this. In fact, a few days ago, Angie Jones actually posted how one of her coworkers, Kobe Fayok, implemented this to actually create a visual validation test leveraging the GitHub AI along with Applitools Eyes API. Now, this is the AI program writing this automatically. All he had to do was start that function. And then when he did, after this comment, bam, it started populating all the essential code needed in order to implement that function. So how cool is that? I think it's the type of technology we're going to see more and more of as years go on. So definitely, I highly recommend checking it out. And as you know, I love to watch for companies acquiring other companies to see where the market's going, what the trends are. ZebRunner, I'm not sure if I'm saying this correctly. I've been hearing more and more about ZebRunner already. And then I see news that they actually acquired Karina. So ZebRunner is a cloud-based reporting provider that helps you automate the analysis of test results. So if you're familiar with something like Report Portal, it's the same kind of concept. I think it's a area that has been overlooked a lot and that actually gives you the most results because as you could tell, as you know, by writing automation tests, most of your time is spent with maintenance and trying to find out what happened, what went wrong, or looking at results and reports. Tools like ZebRunner actually help you do that quicker, faster, more reliably. And they acquired Karina. And also news to me, I never heard of Karina, but apparently Karina is a Java-based automation framework for mobile applications, web native and hybrid, as well as web applications, REST services, and databases. So why did I share this with you? Well, I think a lot of times people start with Selenium, and Selenium is great, but Selenium is just an API. So you have to create all the infrastructure around it yourself. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. What I think it's really great is other tools are used in Selenium under the covers, but they're providing you all this other infrastructure around it that you don't have to create yourself. It's something like Test Project has done. Way back in the day, one of the tools I really loved was Serenity. And Serenity, like all these other tools, act like a wrapper on top of Selenium, rest assured. And it just takes away all the boilerplate code you need to normally write in order to get up and running. It makes things a lot easier to just focus in on writing tests rather than writing these automation frameworks that people are spending a lot of time on. Karina is similar to that. And right before I went live today, I actually saw this article appear in my newsfeed on slow DevOps adoption linked to organizational issues. It's actually a study by Mabel, and they revealed one of the biggest challenges they found in adopting DevOps practices in the latest study was related to organizational issues, not technology issues. And this is something I've seen myself working for a large enterprise. They always say, let's switch up the technology. Let's use a different test tool that'll help us. So rather than use Selenium, let's use, Gauge. Or rather than use Gauge, let's use QTP. They kept switching from automation framework to automation framework to automation framework, thinking it was the automation tool and blaming the automation tool when in fact it was the culture. The culture did not embrace DevOps. It did not embrace full team, whole team development and software testing. And therefore, all their testing efforts are bound to fail actually, after I left the company, one of the folks that took over that was offshore, one of my friends said they actually decided to go with another automation tool to try to get better results because they never listened to me to say, look, this is not a technology issue. It's a culture issue. And the reason why I think that's so difficult is because it's a culture issue, it's hard to fix, where you can just throw a new technology, a new technique at something thinking it's going to be the silver bullet, which it never is. And I think this type of survey just kind of validates my feeling that a lot of issues people feel as a team is not due to technology, but rather culture. So definitely, if you're struggling with automation, you're struggling with testing, look at the culture, see if your whole team is embracing testing or not. If they're not, then if you don't fix that, if you don't make your code testable, if your team's not full on making their code testable and more and higher quality, then no matter what you do, it's never going to work. And I think the study actually shows that with DevOps in general, they've been seeing as well is that the biggest hindrance to teams accelerating the DevOps journey is actually organizational issues. So in performance and site reliability news, I say this all the time, follow the money, more and more of. And I think anytime you see money behind a technology, if you're an engineer, you probably want to learn it. You want to be ahead of the curve. So one of them is monitoring in production. And so Checkly is an API, an end-to-end monitoring platform for the modern stack. So I actually interviewed Tim and Hans on my podcast about their technology a year ago, and they had just started, but it seemed very promising. And as I was seeing, trends are going more and more towards monitoring in production. So it's a great way to catch bugs before they hit production. So it's a technique I think everyone should know about, especially as we move towards shift right type of activities. So I was really surprised to see how much they were able to achieve in a year. To actually get a 10 million Series A shows that there is a need for this technology and that there's a lot of backers behind it. So definitely check out Checkly or any other technology that helps you monitor in production, because I think monitoring in production is a technique that everyone needs to know as well. Something else I saw recently on a blog post last week was something by Harinder, and it was anomaly detection with CloudWatch. And I really like how Harinder mentions as a performance engineer, it's essential that you work with your DevOps teams to proactively identify any production performance bottlenecks before they negatively impact the user experience. So as we move towards performance engineering as a trend as well, we need more tools to help us with this. And one way to do it is using anomaly detection with CloudWatch. It basically brings the capabilities of anomaly detection that other tools like Splunk, AppDynamics, and Sumo Logic have. So if you're using AWS, I would definitely recommend checking this out as well. And definitely check out this blog post to see how Harinder implemented it to help him find performance issues before they impact users. So in security news, I found an interesting article on how hackers are actually taking over a legitimate commercially available tool to help them hack into systems or perform attacks. And so they've actually seen this tool being used to target tens of thousands of organizations. So what it does is Cobalt actually sends out beacons to detect network vulnerabilities. When used as intended, it simulates an attack, but threat actors has figured out how to turn it against networks to actually infiltrate data, deliver malware, and create fake command and control profiles that look legit and slip past detection. So kind of scary. Just so you know, if you're using Cobalt Strike, you want to be aware of this, or using any other tool. A lot of times, the tool itself that was meant to help can actually hurt you. So it's a really good article. It goes in depth about the brief timeline of the strike threat. Just something you need to be aware of. So that's all the news I have for this week in the Test Skill News Show. If you have any news you'd like to share with me that you want me to share on an upcoming episode, all you need to do is drop me a line at news@testskill.com, and I'll try to include it in an upcoming news show. So that's it for this episode of the Test Skill News Show. I'm Joe, and as always, test everything and keep the good. Cheers.